Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Chimera's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, really quick, if you haven't seen my most recent episode on My Role Shield of Argive, make sure you check that one out at some point, because this very well might be the best mono white commander ever. But, as exciting as that is, do not leave just yet, because this spoiler is huge! Oh, okay, I mean, the card is regular size, but the actual card, what it does, is huge. What it is huge. You know what I mean? Anyways, blame Eddie for me blabbing on right now, and yeah, blame Eddie. That's all. Let's jump into it. So, Cityscape Leveler is a massive new card, for many reasons, from Brothers War, an 8/8 artifact creature construct with trample that costs 8 mana. It has, when you cast this spell and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tapped Power Stone token, Unearth 8. And I guess I should say, as a reminder, a Power Stone token is a token artifact Power Stone that has tap, add colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So essentially that player could use them, yes, for artifact spells, or yes, for activated abilities, etc., just not non-artifact spells. But yeah, those details aside, my goodness is this a massive card. Again, 8/8 for 8, trample, that's pretty huge. You can unearth it for 8 so you can bring it back again. And of course, when you cast it and when it attacks, you can just start destroying things left and right. Now, again, you are replacing what you destroy, but you're replacing it with a Power Stone token. And some players, well, might not be using a lot of artifacts or have a lot of activated abilities, that require mana, so they really can't use them. Or at least they won't be able to use them very effectively. And yes, there are also ways to take advantage of your opponents having artifacts or destroying their artifacts, etc. I mean, those are definitely some possibilities with this card, but hey, big stompy thing, swing, do lots of damage, take out things. Yeah, that is the main focus of this card, and this card can have a big impact in a lot of decks out there and can do some pretty crazy things in a game. Because, yeah, there are definitely some ways that work with this card and some commanders that, actually make this card even more impactful and even more, well, just deadly overall. And of course, we will get into some of those commanders, but first, let's talk about some cards and some concepts and some similarities. And blame Eddie, I'm blabbering on again. Anyways, let's jump into those cards. So, first up, I mean, this brand new card is somewhat reminiscent of, cards like maybe Spine of Ishsaw or Meteor Golem or even Argentum Armor. Spine of Ishsaw has when it enters the battlefield, destroy a target permanent, and when it's put engraved from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So, yes, our new Cityscape Leveler is one more mana than this, but again, we get an 8/8 Trampler on top of, being able to destroy something. Now, Spine of Ishsaw can destroy any permanent, including lands. Most of the time, you're probably going to be destroying a non-land permanent anyways, so yeah, Cityscape Leveler, about equal with that. Now, obviously, you're giving an opponent, a Power Stone token, which can benefit them, so there is a downside to that. But, I mean, again, this one is not really all that repeatable unless you can actually, sacrifice it in a way or destroy it to get it back to your hand. Your Cityscape Leveler is, of course, very repeatable. Again, whenever you're attacking, you are getting that trigger again. And, of course, you can unearth it if it's in your graveyard to get that trigger again as well in the attack. So, in a way, it's kind of more so like Meteor Golem in that it is a creature. Meteor Golem has a 3/3 that enters the battlefield and destroys target non-land permanent opponent controls. So again, this one is non-land, just like the Leveler. This one does cost one less, but again, it's a 3/3 versus an 8/8 with trample. Now, Meteor Golem doesn't give your opponent, a token, but that's okay. You can have your Power Stone token if I can just keep destroying all of your important things. And Meteor Golem on top of that, of course, does not, have any way to get itself back. Doesn't have Unearth or anything like that. Now, that being said, Meteor Golem can, fit more so into Blink decks where it can be used and abused in those because, yeah, our Cityscape Leveler, its trigger is off of a cast or an attack, so it does not benefit from blinking. And finally, Argentum Armor might be the closest to this brand new card. Argentum Armor has equipped creature gets +6/+6. Whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. So this is on the attack trigger, which again, if your Cityscape Leveler stays in play, it's going to do a ton of work for you throughout the game. Again, this one, can destroy any target permanent. You do have to equip it to a creature, though, obviously, and it does pump that creature. But again, it can be quite costly to do so, getting it out and equipping it. Destroy any permanent, no Power Stone, downside, quote-unquote, for that. But also, again, this cannot get itself back again without Unearth or whatnot. And, of course, you're not just getting inherently an 8/8 Trampler. So yeah, you can definitely see kind of a melding of these cards in a way, but yeah, our Cityscape Leveler is something entirely different in other ways, and also a very fantastic card in my opinion that, again, can do some pretty crazy things. Now, one thing that I need to mention to consider, if you do have a deck that utilizes unearthed cards or whatnot, or, wants to keep, certain tokens around that might leave at the end of the turn, or stuff like that, yeah, Sundial the Infinite can definitely be very impactful. An artifact for 2 that has pay 1, tap, and the turn, activates ability only during your turn. So basically, you can exile spells and abilities on the stack. So basically, with Unearth, you can essentially say, okay, I get my Leveler back. Awesome. Oh, it would, go away at the end of the turn, but it's not going to, because I'm just going to end the turn instead. So yeah, you can remove that from the stack essentially, and your Leveler can just keep coming back again and again and again to demolish your opponents if it keeps getting dealt with, as long as you can keep ending the turn in this way. Another thing to consider, Cityscape Leveler, again, the way that you're probably going to destroy most things with it is going to be that attack trigger. So, of course, ways to, really take advantage of that attack trigger, like, Relentless Assault, a way to get extra combat. Untap all creatures that attack this turn at this main phase, the additional combat phase, spell additional main phase. Basically, a long way of saying, hey, have an extra combat. So you get to swing with your 8/8 Trampler and the rest of your army as well to dish out even more damage, and of course get that trigger again from your Leveler to destroy another non-land permanent and give that player, again, the lovely gift of a tapped Power Stone. Here you go. I just destroyed your Smothering Tithe. Isn't this just, payment for that? Here, a Power Stone token. This is worth the same thing, right? But yeah, when it comes to some commanders that are definitely going to be considering this card, one of the first ones to come to my mind was Jodah Archmage Eternal, which, again, Cityscape Leveler has a decent mana cost, again, decently high at 8 mana. Jodah's like, no, you cost 5, because I said so. Because Jodah, of course, says you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast, so yeah, just make sure that you have perfect mana fixing, and you can basically cheat on the mana cost of a lot of big spells, including this one. And again, you will still be getting that cast trigger from the Leveler when you do so. So yeah, instead of having to pay 8 mana for it, you're saving 3, you're still destroying something, and I'm sure you can find plenty of ways to take advantage of attacking again and again and again with this massive creature. Speaking of cheating on a mana cost, of course, Joria the Get-To can definitely consider this card as well. Joria has paid 2, exile a non-land card from your hand, put 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. Beginning of your upkeep, basically, you remove a time counter from it. When the last one is removed, you cast out paying its mana cost to the creature. It has haste. So with this one, again, you were really saving a ton of mana. You pay 2 mana essentially, and you wait a little bit, and all of a sudden your Cityscape Leveler is going to be cast and coming out and hasty. So yeah, you save 6 mana overall, a ton of savings there. And you're going to be getting that cast trigger still. You're going to be, destroying a non-land permanent, giving them a Power Stone. You get to swing with it right away, too. So you're just going to be able to just destroy 2 things right away with it. And yeah, again, on top of, being able to cheat it out by saving a ton of mana. A great fit for a Joria deck. Speaking of which, another Joira definitely might want to consider this card as well. Joira Ageless Innovator, a 2/3 Human Artificer that has tap, put 2 Ingenuity counters on Joira. Then you may put an artifact card with mana value X less from your hand on the battlefield, where X the number of Ingenuity counters on Joira. Now, this Joira can definitely get artifacts out very, very quickly. Just, keep in mind any artifacts, like, a Quarter Monitor, I think that's the name. When it enters the battlefield, it can untap, a creature. So essentially, yeah, you got plenty of ways to just basically tap Joria, get something into play, untap Joria, do it again, maybe, bounce something. There are a ton of ways to get a lot of Ingenuity counters on this very, very, very quickly, to the point where you can get out, even an 8 mana artifact like the Cityscape Leveler from your hand into play incredibly quickly. Now, do keep in mind that, again, it's not an ETB. It is a cast trigger to actually, destroy a non-land permanent. You don't get to take advantage of that. But still, you can cheat out, again, an 8/8 Trampler that also can destroy those things and give Power Stone tokens out when it attacks too. So yeah, I mean, a turn, 4, or perhaps even turn 3, I'm sure in some crazy scenarios, Cityscape Leveler, that's going to be quite scary with a commander like this. Moving on, how about Purphoros Bronze Blooded, a 7/6 indestructible god that, well, as long as your devotion red is less than 5, it's not a creature. Now, the Cityscape Leveler is not going to help with that, but it will help with other things. Other creatures you control have haste, and by paying 2 and a red, you may put a red creature card or an artifact creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So, essentially, you can kind of sneak attack out a creature, again, whether it's a red creature or, again, more importantly for this card, an artifact creature from your hand for just 3 mana. Now again, like Joyra Ageless Innovator, we are sneaking it into play essentially. We're just getting it directly from our hand into play. We are not casting it, so we don't get that cast trigger. That being said, we can swing with it right away because it says other creatures you control have haste. So again, we will be getting that attack trigger right away to take something out. And again, although we have to sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, we can also, again, get it back by unearthing it to utilize it a second time. Speaking of utilizing it a second time, yeah, an extra combat commander like Morog can definitely utilize this card. Morog says each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn, so that's nice, and even more nice is landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, this will combat phase after this phase, at the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. Basically, again, get lands in play, get extra combats, so yeah, and on top of that, yeah, your creatures get bigger every single time they attack, so your 8/8 Trampler is going to get even more massive, hit for even more damage, and of course, again, the more, extra lands you're getting into play, the more extra combats you're getting, and the more non-land permanents you are destroying and replacing with very tiny little, power stones. So yeah, Morog and yeah, an extra combat commander like this can definitely utilize a new card like this one. Speaking of extra combats, I mean, I've got to mention Aurelia, the War Leader, Flying Vigilance Haste. When it attacks the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, social combat phase. Yeah, again, for the exact same reasons. Cool. Instead of just destroying one thing on attacking, I get to destroy 2 things. And also, again, swing with a giant 8/8 2 times in a turn. Yeah, you can put out a lot of pain with that. And a lot of sad opponents whose, most valuable permanents, most valuable non-land permanents, I should say, getting replaced by Power Stones. But when it comes to doubling things up, we've got to talk about Ishin, 2 Heavens as 1. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers initial time. Gross. Yes, double up all of your attack triggers, including your new Cityscape Levelers, to destroy 2 non-land permanents. And of course, Ishin works incredibly well with, all of those extra combat effects. So yeah, untap your Cityscape Leveler and all your other creatures and do it again. The Relentless Assault, or, what other effect that you want to just demolish your opponents with an absurd amount of combat triggers again and again and again. At the end of the day, they're probably going to end up with nothing on their board except for, tap Power Stone. So I hope, well, that's, a consolation prize for them, right? And of course, I mean, Wolfgar of Icewind Dale, again, the original, attack Harmonicon commander that was, essentially replaced with Ishin for many players out there. Melee, and if a creature you control attacking will cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control trigger, that ability triggers initial time. Basically the exact same thing, except this one only counts your attack triggers, whereas Ishin counts all attack triggers. But yeah, basically, again, doubling up your Cityscape Leveler's trigger. What is not to like about that? Well, again, at least for you, not for your opponents. They're not going to like that. And like I mentioned earlier with Sundial the Infinite, yeah, if you've got no Becca deck and you might be focused on, keeping certain creatures in play, whether those are tokens that are supposed to leave or, again, unearth creatures, Becca can definitely do that because, she basically is Sundial the Infinite. Tap, the player whose turn it is may end the turn. I mean, this one also can apply to your opponents if you want them to end the turn too and they agree to. But yeah, for your purposes, hey, that unearthed creature, let's keep it around. Why not? So yeah, just keep leveling cities again and again and again. And finally, though, I mean, this one might be a little off the wall, but it can be quite funny. Brutaclad, Telcor Engineer. Creature tokens you control have haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. Yeah, so, I mean, Cityscape Leveler is not a token, obviously. But if you make a token copy of it, and you've got a ton of other tokens in play, again, whether they are, those 2/1 mirror, or if they are, a bunch of treasures or whatnot, or clues, it does not matter. Make them all copies of Cityscape Leveler. Gross. Now your, tiny army of tokens is now just massive 8/8 tramplers that also have a combat trigger, and when they attack, you're going to destroy basically all the non-land permanents that your opponents have, and, just give them power stones instead. So have fun with that. But now, as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on Cityscape Leveler. Again, this card definitely is huge. It is a massive creature. It is, a giant trampler that you can get back as well, but also has a huge effect, not just on cast, but also, again, on attack, which of course you can very easily use and abuse in a lot of situations, and with a lot of commanders out there to get the most out of this massive creature. And of course, the cost itself doesn't have to be massive. Again, there are certain commanders out there that can either, reduce the cost or cheat it into play. So yeah, this giant card can definitely be considered by plenty of commanders out there. And I'm definitely going to be very scared when I see it come down the other side of the table, and hope that I'm not just left with a bunch of, tap power stones on my side of the table at the end of the turn, which is definitely a possibility again. But definitely a very exciting spoiler. And speaking of exciting spoilers, well, make sure you're staying to this channel for more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming up. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are. And as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.